We're here with Arash Bazaar, and I'm Vince Kelvin in preparation to what will be the largest event in the pickup and seduction community history. We are delivering a series of very exclusive mutual interviews. So in just a moment, Arash and myself are going to pick each other's mind and ask the questions you're thinking about, but also the questions that no one dares to ask. Arash, I'm so impressed by your work, the most refreshing work, in my own opinion, after 20 years of doing this in this community. Every word is so inspiring. Every concept is so right on, but at the same time, so innovative. It's like hearing music that when you hear it, you think, why didn't anyone think of that before? But at the same time, it's such a refreshing, true angle. First question, throughout the years, there's that whole concept of winging. It's great for guys who are brand new, so they have a little company and they can relate, be very mindful of whom you associate with because they can easily pollute your mind. At an advanced level, you're not going to bring your wing to the bedroom. So I've never been very big in winging. I have very unique rules. For example, if a guy is talking to three girls, that's his chance for a foursome. Unless one of the girls is extremely distracted, there's no business for another guy being there. But I want to ask you, because in all those years, one of the challenge with guys trying to wing is that they're very miscalibrated, and they also go back into neediness. We had somebody that came to assist the other day, and every time my wife was passing by, he had the goofiest smile on his face. But I always had that different idea that a real solid man will totally respect another man's woman because there's no neediness. And never did I witness that, in my own opinion, done properly until I met you. And there I heard you and I realized, wow, the proper frame of mind. And that was so refreshing, so inspiring. So what's your take on that?
Well, good to hear from you again, Vince. And, I hear you say that in the amount of time you've been doing game and, social dynamics, and, you're one of the original, you're like one of the veterans of this game, one of the first people ever. And I hear you say how me coming into this game has refreshed it and stuff, and I know that to be true. And at the same time, in the short amount of time that I've been in this, I've actually had the opportunity and the privilege, really, to see all the top guys, everybody that anybody's ever heard of. I've been around them. I've been in set with many of them, and I've been more than that. I mean, I know a lot of these people, and you and I, we officially met about maybe, my timeline going backwards is not too good. I was maybe around 6 months or so, 5-6 months ago, it seems like. And the reality of it is that the level of authenticity and wisdom and true help that you bring, because I've been on stage with everybody, and I remember the first time I got to speak with you, I expected the same kind of nonsense of the person's going to go and then I'm going to go and I'm just going to fucking blow them out of the water. So I did my thing, and then you went after me, and I remember I was watching you and I said, man, this guy's really fucking good. Like, I knew you were good with women. I didn't know you were very good at speaking and teaching, because it's one thing to be good at speaking. It's another thing to be good with women, but it's a whole different game being good at teaching people, like with passion. And so I remember when you were speaking, I went into the bathroom and I kind of had a little talk with myself. I looked in the mirror. I said, hey, this is a different level. You know what I mean? You can't coast. And I never thought I didn't even know I was coasting until you stepped up. So you really pushed me to the next level, and I'm real excited that you're here in this whole thing, and with the event that we're doing together. It really is the biggest and the most prestigious event, because we've both been in the events. We've both seen it. And the wisdom and experience that you bring to it, and the fresh energy that I bring to it is going to make it unbelievable. So I just want to throw that back your way because you constantly give me this compliment, which I really appreciate, and it's mutually, the admiration is mutual. So now to answer the question. My take on it is like this. Guys have to get this. It's not just a saying. It's really bros before hoes. Like for real bros before hoes. And when a guy understands that a woman will challenge his relationship, she will challenge his friendship, that even though she could be your wife, she could be your sister, she could be your lover, anything, if another man steps up into the scene, there is a very high opportunity and a chance for her to smile or just look over there or something. If you cannot trust the guy you're with, he shouldn't be around you. Now, I've met your wife on many occasions. I don't think I've said anything to her besides, hi, nice to meet you. And I think that was the last time I've said anything besides walking past her maybe and just going hello. There's nothing more. Why? Because I don't have anything to do with her. I don't want to have anything to do with her. It doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? It's like guys have to understand. Your friend's girl is not a target for you. It has nothing to do with you. I think that there's a lot of disrespect in the game because we got a lot of people who don't understand the game. They don't understand that there's people who dedicate their whole lives to this thing. And so just like in any field, if you step into it, there's an etiquette. There's a way to be. And if you don't follow those rules, you break those codes, then you're not respected in that community and you're thrown out. And I think that's one of the things I'm going to bring to this game is the ethics level of it, which is, hey, if you want to call yourself a player, if you want to call yourself somebody who's in this game and really spitting game, then you're going to follow the rules of the game. And should I find out that a guy has, taken on another man's wife or girl or whatever, just like when we read the book we game with Mystery and Tyler or whatever, that shit is not going to stand anymore. That person should be completely blacklisted from the community, have nothing to do with it, and everybody should just shun them like they're little cockroaches that they are. Because this is a close-knit community. We're bringing them back. There's a lot of information here that, I think presidents of the world could benefit from. This is how women pick, women and men, really. This is how the internal world works, right? So it's a complete no-no. I don't think I'm going to deal with it any more than just say, look, there's people in this game who've dedicated their lives to it. They're the ones running the community. That would be me, you, and everybody else who's involved in it. And outside of that, if anybody comes in and doesn't follow the rules, there's justice to it just like any other group. You can't walk into a fucking group and fuck things up and expect to be okay. So we could get into why they shouldn't and why they should, but the bottom line is if they want the information, if they want to learn these skills, then they have to be respectful. They have to be respectful of the game, and they got to be respectful of each other. That's how I feel about it.
That's brilliant. And it's always also important to realize that when a guy is into an interaction and then his buddy steps in, it devalues the whole thing. Suddenly the girl is no longer special. The first guy is no longer special, nor is the second guy. So props for that. And just to clarify, with all appreciation, it is very genuine, meaning I don't give you compliments, but it's just a very genuine observation of what is. So it's a fact. You have ethics like I've never seen before, and that's very refreshing and inspiring. So thank you for that.
Good. It's true. Now I have a question for you, something that keeps coming up for my students, and I keep referring them to you, so I figure I might as well now talk about it. And the question is, when you're out, when you're in, let's say you're walking down Hollywood Boulevard, or you're in a coffee shop or whatever, and you try to talk to women that are walking, like basically moving sex, they always ask, what's the best way to do it? Now, there's the basic standard game technique, which is you walk ahead of her, look over your shoulder, you don't stop her. However, I've seen you just do magic when it comes to this. I've seen you from your car yell across fucking 2 lanes and get a fucking phone number. I've seen you stop people dead in their tracks and park your car and walk out and suddenly have a conversation while you're in the middle of the street parking, and you just seem to do it at a different level. So what are some ways or tips that you would give to guys in dealing with moving sets, just like spontaneously being there and handling women when they are engaged in some kind of activity with each other?
Yeah. So I'm going to create an acronym on the spot using the letters GPS, because that's what we use in this day and age to find our way around more easily. G stands for genuine. And what I mean by that, it's the core wiring. You know, sometimes being pressured by TV crews where they go, come on, go talk to her. I've realized that I would opt for a wiring that's probably the wiring that every guy will follow, which would consist of seeing a girl and starting to think about what you could say or do to get her attention. When you operate from that wiring, it's very difficult because women will feel that you just want something. If you ever had an elderly person come to you and they start to talk to you about the weather, and you can tell they're not genuinely interested in the weather. They're just craving connection. It's a turnoff. So the better wiring, the wiring that I've used since day one, is I'm solid into my own experience that is so rich, and not rich necessarily in terms of means, but more in terms of presence, paying attention, appreciation, noticing little details, that from that place, as I observe the world in general, you broaden your sense of awareness. You cannot help but notice the women. And as you notice them, you're simply sharing something that was already going on for you. So the backwards way.
What do you mean by that? Well, wait, can you explain that? Something that's already going on.
The backwards way would be the guy is not really having a good time by himself. He's not being creative, inventive. He's not appreciating. He's not having fun. He's not noticing things. But he notices women, and from that empty place, he's trying to fill the space. And it's very difficult. That leads also to running out of things to say. The proper way to do it would be talking to women is a plus. It's really sharing your reality that's really enjoying by yourself. So it's a lot more authentic, and that would be the first initial G. P is practical. There, it's basic techniques, both at a nonverbal level, meaning you got to watch your positioning to stop someone that's walking. Too many guys, there's two options. They're coming towards you, face to face. We're used to a few feet away conversation when we're standing with someone. And a lot of guys wait until she's a few feet away to start to talk, but they don't realize that we have an instinct that is there to protect us, keep us safe. And whenever we get too close to an object or a person, automatically, even if we wanted to talk, we have something that kicks in that wants to go around because no one wants to run into a wall. So practically, you want to start much sooner. And if you're passing the girl, like what you were saying, and talk over the shoulder, most guys, they don't even pass her. At best, they will be side to side. By then, she didn't get a chance to process what's happening. In their own mind, the guys know, I want to talk to her. In her own mind, Lord knows what she's thinking about. Suddenly, there's a voice. Now, sometimes they still comply, but ideally, put a little more space. Walk like at least 5-6 steps ahead of her. And if you turn around properly, automatically they will stop because you're no longer an obstacle. So there's more to it, but I want to save time. I want to just open that door. And there's also the practical aspect of basic sophistication in communication. Silly example, we often do boot camps in San Francisco, and there's a world's record by Gary Street, the Clift Hotel, of homelesses. I have spoken to groups of homelesses in Tenderloin in the past to give back out of giving freely, charity. And one thing I noticed, though, a lot of them, they just pop in out of nowhere, unaware of an existing conversation or a task, and it doesn't feel right. But I've been teaching them to just go, hey, I know you're having a conversation, or I know you're on the phone, but it's just that. So little sophistication at the level of common sense makes it much easier. A great exercise would be go ask people for a quarter for change. You have a dollar bill in your hand, and notice if you just go, hey, you have change, or if you go, hey, forgive the interruption, but it's just that. So the combination of the nonverbal and the verbal, and it's simple stuff, practical. Oftentimes guys omit them. They hear them and they go, yeah, but how do I continue? How do I stop them? That's essential. Without that, it's a hit and miss. And when you watch my videos and they stop so smoothly, really pay close attention. And I'm not saying apologize and go, hey, I'm sorry. You got to do what works when it works. But it's a combination of all those little nuances that most would not see that make it happen very smoothly. And S is say it like it is. We're in a day and age where it's very difficult to withhold information. If there's a scandal, political scandal, the whole world will know it very fast. In the 40s, in the 50s, it would be possible to hide it. So we're a lot more aware and informed. And the best thing to do in this day and age, instead of beating around the bush or pretending and so on, you'll go a lot further, especially with women, if you just say it like it is. So avoid any overly canned lines. And if you don't know what to say, I just don't know what to say, but something made me want to say hello. Just say it like it is. Wow, you're making me blush. Part of me didn't want to say hello, but part of me wanted to, and I'm happy I did, although I don't know you yet. And that's the GPS. There's more to it, but I want to pass it back to you with the next question. First,
wait,
another thing. Yes, please.
Before we go to the question, let me just kind of recap what I learned when you said that. You got the GPS, and I think one of the things that when you said it kind of triggered something in my mind is that even when you just said, wow, I was going to come and talk to you and I was blushing, or whatever the line was that you just said, what I recognize is you can say anything because your delivery is so smooth, and I think a lot of times guys are looking for the words to carry the communication, whereas the words are not really as important as the delivery of the words. There's something when you say it, it comes across not creepy, kind of fun, warm, and playful. And that's, I think, one of the most important vibes is that if they don't have that, and even if they follow the GPS that you just put out, if they don't have that delivery, it's not going to work. And this is why people need to practice. And more than that, they need to be in the presence of people who know how to do it. That's the biggest difference when someone does like a one-on-one with a coach, and they get to be around. When guys do one-on-one with me, I tell them, I say, look, there's going to be so much information in the next couple of days, but more important is that you're going to see for yourself things, and you're going to be able to experience how I interact with life in ways that you could never see on a video or in a boot camp, because you're going to see how I live. And in those moments, it's just going to kind of transmute into who you are, and you're going to see things that there's no way anybody else could see unless they're on a one-on-one. And I could see that they need to learn this delivery that you have. Before I answer the question you're going to ask me, I'm curious for my own evolution of this art. When you deliver, what is, that would be a good question for this. Let me see how I can word this question. What would you say if there was anything, and I know sometimes it's hard to answer these things, but if there was anything to say, what would you say makes it so fun and playful in your vibe? As opposed to being serious and just awkward.
Well, it's almost like a two-part question and brilliant distinction. And by the way, side note, gentlemen, that's what I love about that idea of a gathering of like-minded people, is that that's the only way you're going to grow. Notice right now, Arash is pinpointing something that I omitted a moment ago, not voluntarily, but we cannot cover it all. And now it's becoming even richer. I love that synergy, and that can only happen when you're surrounded by people whose thinking is equally big to yours or bigger. And if you're a newbie, you want thinking that's much bigger than yours. So there's the element of genuine curiosity. And most men tend to only be curious about what they know and what they like. So you got to learn how to be curious with the absurd, with things that don't necessarily make sense to you, but instead of wasting time judging them, unless they are truly harmful and somebody needs to take a stand to put an end to them, then learn how to be fascinated with what to you doesn't make any sense. And even the things that most people would complain about, like one of my mentors used to always say, I'm stuck in traffic, I'm late to catch my flight, I am fascinated. Traffic, wow, what a phenomenon. So, for example, in a nightclub, I look up and suddenly they spent a fortune everywhere except for the ceiling. Now, the Avalon, where we have the event, is the exception. The ceiling is a masterpiece. But it's pretty absurd. Or you have girls standing in line, so cold. They would never stand that way in the cold for another reason. And there, they endure the cold just to look cold, just to enter the cold venue. It's absurd. But instead of criticizing, you get fascinated by it. And I want to take too much time, but the other aspect is, you're right, delivery is key. When, and I'm sure it happens to you a lot, Arash, sometimes somebody recognizes you, hey, I know you from YouTube or this and that, and they want a quick answer, a quick fix. They go, give me one thing. I always tell them, whatever you're doing, do it more assertively and boost your delivery. And there, I came to Hollywood at the time to become a musician, a performer, and I never made the connection, but you can work on improving your delivery just by paying attention to it. As you're listening right now, guys, you know, because it's one of those things, it's like running. Everybody can run a little bit. That doesn't mean you can be an Olympic champion. So there's room to grow. So everybody can talk, but very rarely will people apply themselves with volume, with speed, and there you can even learn it on your own if you just pay attention to your delivery. Most guys have one volume, one speed, and they stay at that, and then they wonder why it doesn't hook. But it's not something that you're born with. It's something that you just pay attention and you work on it. Now, if you get the help of experts, and you don't need to search too far. Me, I have a background also in music, where I've learned how to boost my delivery, to own my space. And that stuff, you can teach it and learn it super rapidly. But delivery is essential. Now, I want to pass it back to you because I want to pick your mind. You know, there's so many questions I want to ask you. But in the original days of the community, a lot of people made a lot of big claims. Bet any women that you want and so on. At one point, it started to bother me. I was like, you know what, all those claims, but who's really living it? So I made the decision to live it. And I manifested many miracles at the time of gathering large amounts of women living together and so on. But I felt, compared to your reality, that was almost like a rough draft. You know, I did the best with what was there at the time with no references, and I lived it. Now, a student, mutual student, the other day told me two things. The first thing he said, I started with Arash. I don't know anybody else. I said, wow, what a blessing for you that you started with Arash. And I mean this. Second thing he said, and you know what I love about Arash? Not only he gets the 9s and the 10s, but he gets to keep them. So utmost respect to you. It's a dream that every man has had, and you've done it at a larger scale, more remarkably than anybody else. So any tips, anything you have to offer in terms of living the dream and not only manifesting 9s and 10s, but also manifesting many of them together and being able to make that work through time.
Yes. I do have a few basic advice that has to be understood before anybody can do it. The first thing, and you know, I have a ready answer for this because there was a very similar question was asked me yesterday, and I thought longer about it yesterday. But it's interesting that it shows up twice in about 24 hours. The very first thing is they have to completely forget what they think they know. There's no way. You cannot stack on top of your limiting beliefs, my beliefs. It doesn't go. It doesn't work. It's either one or the other. You see, contradictions don't exist in my mind. This is something I learned a while back that really completely altered my life. I don't have contradicting philosophies. For example, I don't think that there's not a God, but, however, there may be a God, so just in case I should, just for the sake of it, maybe not say, fuck God, God can suck my dick. Because maybe if there is one, I may suddenly get punished. Well, that's contradictory. There either is one or there isn't one. Now, in my mind, I have worked out any contradictions that I could find that would prevent me from just moving at a certain speed and not having to put on the brakes on myself. Many men will look at my life, and let me give you some basic ideas that they have that will prevent them. One, they have the idea that other people have any authority about their life. What does that mean? They're grown men, and they think that other people, like their parents, their friends, in quotes, their social circles, that those people's opinions should regulate their life. I don't have that idea. I could give a shit what anybody thinks about my life because it's my life. Now, I know a lot of people will say that, but it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it. You can talk about the fucking ocean, but when you get in front of the ocean, the words don't mean nothing. That's a whole different experience. So I have the experience of it's my life, and I own it, and I'm an adult, and I'm a sane individual. I can make rational decisions, so your opinion doesn't mean anything to me. As long as they have the idea that somebody else's opinion matters in their life, they will not get into my position. Because to be in the position I'm at, although there's a lot of admiration and love, there's also a lot of hate that comes with it. There's just too many people that would rather me not live this way. They'd rather me die, obviously. So they're never gonna get to where I'm at. Number one. The second attitude that they, and there's a lot more. This is what my boot camps are. This is what the Global SLR event. This will be part of my speech. When I talk, I just heard this yesterday from one of my girls. People don't even know what's happening when I talk. It's like I go in there somehow and I chop up their mind. And later, it's easier for them to do things. And this is something I've always been able to do, and I do it. This is why people listen to me. It's not like they have to consciously make changes. Someone listens to me, and the ideas that I give and the information that I give, just like a lightning bolt, I used to call it. I see it in my mind as a blue lightning bolt in a dark sky, a cloudless dark sky, and suddenly this streak of blue lightning goes through. That's me going through with my communication. So they don't have to consciously try. They just have to listen, and it'll take care of itself once they see the truth. So the second idea is that they think somewhere deep inside of them, if they really looked, they actually think that it's wrong to be with more than one woman. Now, if you think that, there's no way you're going to do it. And that has to be handled. I don't care how badly a person wants to be with more than one woman, how badly they want. I don't care that they want it. If they think that they are doing something wrong, they will self-sabotage. And I am not into self-sabotaging at all. So these two basic ideas, if someone can get over these two hurdles, then they should come and talk to me because there's more. But unless I have somebody in front of me who totally 100% owns their own mind and owns their own life without ever having to explain themselves to any other individual and saying, this is who I am, I've decided for myself, this is what I'm doing. That person has to be a sane individual, right? Crazy people, they also think like that too. But what's the difference? Crazy people, they destroy things. Crazy people, when you look around them, they're not doing well. That's the difference, right? So we need a sane individual who can demonstrate that they can think intelligently and they are doing creative things in life. One. Two, the person has to truly feel that there's absolutely nothing wrong with having more than one woman. Not only that, the second part of that belief system is it's actually the right thing to do to have more than one woman for myself, for the guy, and for the girls. And this is not something I have to lie to myself about because that shit doesn't work. This is something that I see the truth in it. It's completely part of my essence of knowing, and I have total certainty on this subject. So I know if a person sits there and talks to me for 5 minutes, trying to change my mind about it, 5 minutes later, their mind has changed about the subject. because I'm not giving them opinions. I'm giving them actual observable facts of nature and saying, these are my reasons. It's like an argument. When you argue, an argument has two definitions. One is two people in a heated discussion that are throwing emotions at each other. I'm not into that. A second level of argument is what you'll see in courts, which is both sides present their case with evidence. That is the old way of argument. Socrates, that's argument. And I'm into that very, very much. So if somebody wants to sit in front of me and present their reasons, their actual logical, rational reasons for why they think I should be with one woman only, I'm willing to listen to them, but they're going to have to listen to me. Now, normally a person's like, well, I'm willing to do that. They're not, because I'll tell you what, I have one more piece to this thing that they have to be willing to do, and this is what makes me unique. If a man wants to do that, here is what needs to happen. He needs to bring his woman, whoever that is, his wife, his girlfriend, the girl he's dating, and she needs to sit there and listen to the conversation, and I will bring my women, or he can pick one of mine, I don't give a damn, and a girl will also be present in that conversation. And I bet you anything, when the conversation's over, his girl will be mine. And that's the big difference, you see? It will be visible. So he's going to have to put up, because anybody wants to argue and just give information because they know so much. No, this is like, if you're going to go fight a prize fighter, if you're going to fight Floyd Mayweather, you should be able to bring $50 million yourself. So if somebody wants to have that discussion with me because they think I'm wrong, absolutely, bring your wife, bring my girls, whoever you want, and we'll sit down, we'll have a discussion. But let me just warn you in advance, your girl will be mine. Once she hears what I say, it's over at that point. So that is my proof to it, is that I'm willing to have all my girls hear everything I have to say, and I'm willing to have their girls hear what I have to say, but they would be unwilling to, because the more in front of their women they would say stupid things like, how do we, well, I think that you should honor, whatever the fuck, I don't give a damn what they say. Whatever they say, they will demonstrate their weakness to their girl. In the meantime, the girl will look at me and listen to my philosophy, and she'll very quickly do the calculation that if she was with me, her life would be a million times better, because she's attracted. She doesn't have loyalty. If men think women have loyalty, they're mistaken. She doesn't have loyalty. She's only loyal to herself. That's why every single day you spend with a woman, you're spending a time with a loaded gun pointed to your head. I'm telling you this from the bottom of my heart. So you better know what the hell is going on. Every day, every minute, every hour spent with her, where you invest more and more of yourself into her, and if you don't have any way out, if you have no other women, then be ready. Because when I talk to you in 5, 10 years, 12 years, she's trying to take half your whole house. She's ruined your life. Your balls are shrunk up, and you don't even know who the fuck you are anymore, thinking about the good old days, and life's about to be over. That is not the way I'm going to live my life. And you know what? It's not that I'm saying it's the right thing to do. I'm saying this is the right thing to do for me. I've evaluated my life. This is what I'm doing. So those two basic beliefs have to be handled. After that, then a person can have a conversation with me, and I'll show them more of the beliefs. But those two are the big iron gates before you even enter the palace. Then the palace, there's all these rooms you have to enter. So there you go.
Yeah, I love how you started from the ground up and your level of congruency. Many psychologists will say that the core key to any form of communication is how certain and congruent the person is. It's not necessarily what they think or so on, and there it's contagious. I mean, I really feel the congruency, and anyone listening can only go, yeah, he's so solid in his own truth. I'm going to throw something out there. I think that in my many years of studying a variety of fields, I met people who were channeling, and maybe you don't like the name itself or so on, but I always, in your presence, feel like you're channeling greater, deeper truth, and they are so lined up with what really makes sense that anyone cannot help but sense that. Feel that. And all of your students, sometimes people visit many, but anyone that's come to me from your side, they come at such a high level, much more solid. So it's remarkable. It's remarkable. I want to take a moment also, guys, to acknowledge the fact that you're witnessing right now synergy. One idea gives birth to another idea, and also a healthy sense of genuine competition the way it should be, where one's presence makes the other's presence even better. You know, we hold each other up to a super high standard. So we're bringing the best of the best. I want to acknowledge a few people. Hypnotica. In my most challenging moments, I openly and happily say it, I've turned to Hypnotica's recordings, and they really are so potent as speaking to you as a hypnotist. To me, that's the hypnotist and hypnotherapist I turn to through his recordings. We are also bringing Bad Boy. Bad Boy was the daring one when everybody was beating around the bush, indirect stories left and right, who said, guys, you got to go direct. And I remember even I at the time was like, direct? What do you mean? But sure enough, he had a lot of balls and a lot of guts to stand ground, and now everybody's like, oh, go direct, go direct. The list goes on. On your side, there's also Aikido, who's really, really, really bringing a lot of solidity. We're going to have also John Keegan. He's a true romantic, John Keegan. John Keegan is the guy, it's like he's straight out of a romance novel. He's gotten a lot of interview and press with regards to that. I don't want to name any wrong magazine, but so on. And the goal is to challenge all of those gentlemen as we bring them all under one roof for an entire weekend to go beyond the best they have done and known. And the theme, the topic this year is the fastest, greatest, best ways to help guys that have yet to be known and discovered. The format will also be different because instead of just one lecture after the other, we're demanding from the speakers that they spend the entire weekend there to help with mini boot camps, with round tables, with workshops, and so on. So I just wanted to also acknowledge all the talent that we're bringing to the plate. Guys like Nick Hawk from Showtime, Gigolo. He's a real-life gigolo. But at the same time, always also surprising. When I heard him once, I thought, okay, that's going to be debauchery and one story, dirty story after the other. On the contrary, he explained how he manages his life, how he's up in the morning following a very strict regimen, how to really achieve so much. He owns many companies and so on. So I'm so excited about all those people coming to a very genuine event. I've done and given a lot to the community. And genuinely, I say it openly because I think that honesty is key. Putting together an event like that is a huge task, and there are many other easier ways around to get ahead in this world. But right there, I'm reminded of the words of Wayne Dyer. He says that there's 4 stages and ages in life. Age number 1 is the age of dependence. Until we're done with school and living with our parents and being dependent on them, it's the age of dependence. Then it's the age of confidence. We want a lot, but we're not sure we can. So if you're in that phase, be more confident. Bring the confidence you'll have later in life, sooner in life. And then there's the age of achievement, where it's very important that you demonstrate to yourself and the world what you can do, so you raise the standard for everybody. And then comes the age of legacy, where you think a little bit beyond that, and that's the age I'm in. You know, it's part of the process of life and growing through life and so on. So for me, it's really I want this community to be at its best in the future, not in the past. And it's also a unique community that is lacking structure. One of my heroes was Milton Erickson, the famous hypnotist, who when he first started, the world of hypnosis was very random. And then his presence made it be very accredited, organized. We welcome everybody, but you mentioned something, Arash, that was brilliant. Said you got to earn your rank. Otherwise, you're not doing yourself a favor, and you're not doing the rest of the world a favor. So there was great appeal in the early days of the community. Everybody wanted in, and we are bringing the quality back to honor those who are yet to come and to make sure that it's an ever-increasing improvement at the level of quality, options, possibilities for everybody. So I forgot where we were at with the questions. Maybe we can pass each other a few more questions.
Yeah, I have a question for you. In regards to this event that you were just saying, I think it's really important that people recognize there is, in my opinion, there is three, well, there's four, but I think one of them is just so fucking lost that I wouldn't even fucking talk to him. But there's three guys who are in this community who I consider some level of wizard or magician. And that, in my opinion, is Hypnotica, Vince Kelvin, and Arash VK. Anybody who's been around us knows our capabilities of what we can do if we decided to enter into someone's world or into their imagination or their mind. Now, the interesting part of it is, in my world, and when I look at things, I look through the eyes of fantasy all the time. But you know, that's what's given me my world, is that I actually live in a fantasy. Other people's fantasy is my reality, because that's how I've always looked at it. I never looked at it from other people's point of view. Right now, as we're doing this right now, somebody commented on a video that I put up with the girls last night, and this guy says, and I just was typing an answer, and I deleted my answer 3 times, but I bubbled up. The guy comments and says, don't get me wrong, because somebody else shared it. Don't get me wrong. That dude had some great insight. However, ... I like the dots. Does anyone know if those girls are paid? Because it's always the same girls. And I notice their pics always have a blur face. A blur face? Are they paid? So I'm like typing furiously all these answers, and I keep deleting them. And I'm not going to answer him. But the problem is that his Peabody little fucking brain cannot even begin to comprehend my life. And the truth of it is, what people are witnessing on the videos or my pictures is, I swear on my life, I swear on my mother's life, on my niece, on my father, on anything that's ever been important to me. That's about 3%, if that, of what I actually have going on with these women and other women. Like, it would be too much for people to even begin to. This is why I can't fucking show my life, because of a fucking dumbass like this, who looks at something like that, goes, the guy has great content. Those girls' faces are blurred. Are they really fucking blurred? Are they really fucking blurred? Because they're actually not blurred ever. And are they paid? You dumb bitch. Because they're the same girls. Because they're my fucking girlfriends, you fucking moron. That's why they're the same fucking girls. If they were paid, they might be different girls all the time. That would be even better. But anyway, the point being, back to my fucking, what I was going to say. The point being, you got 3 wizards of this game. There's different ways of doing social dynamics. And the 3 of us that I just mentioned were always very fascinated with the way the mind works and the internal process. And when I watch Hypnotica or speak to him, watch you or speak to you, and knowing myself, it reminds me of like if you were in this big video game and you got a chance to enter a village, and that village had the wizard, and everybody knew about the wizard. And that wizard was able to cast these amazing spells and was able to create these amazing effects that were unique to that wizard. And then you go to the next village, and next village. And then suddenly you get the chance to bring the top 3 wizards under one roof in 2 nights. Plus, from other lands, you would bring like the greatest warriors, the greatest Vikings, the greatest assassins and thieves. And they were all invited. The 12 of the top were invited under one roof, and they all were able to get these amazing results. But if they want wizardry and magic, in quotes, where real changes occur, anybody who's ever worked with you, with Hypnotica and myself knows, we fucking change people, straight up. We take them from a fucking caterpillar to a butterfly to a bird to an eagle to a phoenix to a fucking whatever the fuck it is. It's up to them how far they want to go. There's no limit. So if people are coming to this event, which I highly, highly fucking recommend, if they're coming to this event, they have to walk in with a proper perspective. This is not just, oh, we're doing a pickup event. No. We've been working, and we're still working. Look at this interview we're doing. We're working around the clock. I'm working with the coaches on my side. You're working with the people on your side. We're making sure that people come in, and this is the revival, the bringing back, the resurrection of this movement of men and women. What people don't understand is what the future holds. You and I are going to do an event just for women. And how incredible that's going to be. We're going to empower women on a whole other level. And I'm sure at that moment, all the guys are going to want to knock on the door to show up. well, look, if you're not calibrated to be around women, you cannot show up. We're going to do an event for women that the men in that event are by invitation only. And how is that going to work? These will be the students who have displayed through time their consistency, their energy, and they're not going to sit there and embarrass us, because I do want high-value men in that group. And I'm in the position to bring, 30 to 50 women with a snap of a finger if I say I'm doing an event. And so I'm going off on a tangent, really. But the point being that the event that's coming up, I'm extremely excited about it. There's very few events where I would sit there and listen to the speakers, but there's already 4 speakers that I can't wait to see myself. I'm going to be there sitting down and just absorbing all that stuff. So let's move on, because I know we both have to go, and I have a burning question for you, Vince.
I want to backtrack, and I want to draw a parallel between learning, lifestyle, and the event. Sometimes it's wonderful to be around like-minded people, because things that appear to be unique when you experience them by yourself now make more sense. And I'm looking back on some of my videos. One of them, somebody had said the video that killed all infield footage because it was old endgame was the sex rampage at Project Hollywood. And there also a world record of comment. Yeah, I think this guy is really good, but I wonder if the girls are not paid. And it reminds me of something that Napoleon Hill said decades ago, last century. He said, what the mind of men, and speaking in those days, men meaning people, men and women, can conceive of, it can achieve. Now, it's also backwards. We can also reverse it and know that you cannot achieve what you cannot conceive of. So the comment on the video, are those girls paid, is a direct reflection of the only possibility in the guy's mind who's making the comment. For him to have that reality, he would have to pay the girls. Now, when you're learning, it takes an element of humility combined with aggressivity, meaning aggressivity, don't apologize. You want to learn, you got to fucking dive in. You cannot wait in the back of the line until your turn has come. But at the same time, the humility to know that in order to know, you need to know you don't know. And that's the problem with a lot of those guys. They're looking at the most phenomenal reality through a peephole. Another metaphor would be, don't go to the ocean with a fucking spoon. At least bring a bucket, So it's no surprise. So gentlemen, at least have the decency towards yourself that when you come across a master like Arash and you witness a glimpse of his reality, and I can totally relate, the best of all that I have done will never be seen nor revealed because it's too fucking much. It will go to the grave with me. Some of it will be revealed in upcoming book, but the majority of it will be too much. Yet, know that there is more to it than you know. And that's an act of sophistication in learning that is getting lost. We need to bring it back. First time I entered the world of Tony Robbins, I didn't go, well, I wonder if this guy is for real, because I saw the fucking helicopter. I saw him transform people who had been wrestling for years, and within minutes he would change them. I didn't know how I was doing it. I didn't know how it was possible, but at least I brought the presence of mind and the humility of knowing I don't know. Start like that, you will grow more solid. You won't always say, I don't know. 10 years from now, we hope by then you will know and have your own stories. But if you want your stories, you need to know. That's for learning. That's for lifestyle. Then, the conference, for me, is a gift to the community. Because I would hate for people to go, I remember the good old days 10 years ago. Bullshit. There's no such thing as the good old days. We are not has-beens. We're brighter. We have more technology, more awareness, more intelligence, more tools than ever before. So it should be the best is yet to come. So for that, the conference, at least understand that you cannot begin to comprehend what awaits you. The best venue. I fantasized for years doing lair meetings in the back of a room, the back of a restaurant, of bringing to the community what I had witnessed in the self-help field, a venue that sits 2,000 people. Then you also got to go where it's at. So the heart of Hollywood, nightclubs. On Friday evening, everybody will have access to the nightclub. On Saturday evening, instead of going to the nightclub, we have the nightclub come to us with a pink carpet event, Hollywood celebrities, talent, and so on. You'll be able to invite girls, stand on the red carpet, take pictures, and so on. And then the best of the best, I want to acknowledge, because I know them and I've known them for years, a couple of the wizards. Bad Boy, you know, if you know the whole story, I mean, he once did a video where he talked about his story, where end of the war in his area, neighbor fires a gun, bullet drops, and he's 12 at the time or 11, and he had everything going against him. And I witnessed him also sometimes still being affected by it, but he stands up and he goes right back at it. And for him to create that journey when he had every reason and possible excuse by then to feel sorry for himself, and he became a world-class true player, that is a wizard as well. And Adam Lyons came, he was in the show The Rules of Seduction, first event we did in 2007, and he revolutionized. He brought an entourage with him in his lifestyle. I was texting him the other day. Every time I'm in touch with Adam, he's involved in a new activity that's totally unexpected, and he's having fun with it. Talk about bringing playfulness in it. So to have all those people under the same roof with the theme of, like, guys, we're all the best of the best, but how can we take this further? We challenge all the speakers. We keep on telling them via email, okay, we want you to outperform your very best, and we'll all do it with a healthy spirit of competition to give. So it speaks for itself, and just know that you don't know it. You've been to a little conference because it's been copied many times. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the event that will set the stage, make history, and really make it easier and faster for guys to get it. And we're witnessing that. I mean, it's like cell phones. What used to take forever years ago, we used to stack 1,700 hypnotic patterns, 12 girls 13 times to one side, 13 times, and so on. And now it could be done with just presence, you know? So very excited. We have one more juicy, bit controversial question for you, Arash. And at the same time, before I ask it, and if you have any other questions for me, I just want to say, gentlemen, we're working with a sliding scale, just to be fair, because I mentioned Napoleon Hill a moment ago when he was given the opportunity to have access to 100 of the most successful people in America, which led to the book Think and Grow Rich, a classic you must know or pick up. He was given 30 seconds to decide. Later on, he asked, why 30 seconds? It was because if you don't decide that fast, then you're missing out. And the number one thing, in my own opinion, that comes in the way of men's success with women is that they want everything to be predictable, and they're no longer in touch with the true adventurer. In my days, I heard Tony Robbins needed extra crew member in Australia or in Europe. Even though I didn't have the means at the time, I jumped on a fucking airplane and I showed up. And when you take a leap of faith, you get rewarded, because that didn't take long until it was noticed. And I grew in that organization faster than anyone at the time. It made many people jealous, but sliding scale. So you'll either hear about it afterwards and you'll see the footage of the giant screen, all the speakers, the workshops, the pink carpet, and you go, oh, why wasn't I there? There's people flying from Israel. There's people flying from Denmark. There's people flying from South America, from all over the U.S. Or you be, okay, I want to be there, but I waited till the last minute, so now I'm paying full price. Or you jump on the tickets, and there's going to be, within the next couple of days, again, a slight increase, just as an incentive to at least learn from being a man of action. First seminar I ever went to was Marshall Silver, the hypnotist. I called him and I said, I don't really have the money, but I want to come. He said, well, that's the beginning of your seminar. Manifest the fucking money. And I was a little offended, but then still open to the idea. I did manifest the money. I showed up. And first thing I did, I went up to him and I said, thank you. Thank you. I could leave right now. I've had my seminar, because what it took for me to make this happen was the lesson I really needed. So one last question. in a very genuine way, a couple people said, "Oh, wow, we heard you doing something with Rush, and we heard a lot about him." And it made me laugh the way they asked, because the question's been asked many times about me. And they said, "Is he really crazy?" I can answer it first by saying Rush is the most ethical, brilliant, genuine, righteous man I've ever met, and an amazing reminder to stand your ground, to not take bullshit from others, but in a way that is so superior that it is really organic. And thank you for all the contributions since I met you 6-7 months ago, because really, I mean, I've experienced a lot of personal growth, and the way we've been putting this thing together has been phenomenal. So the question is, Arash really crazy?
Okay, what a question. Now, I'm on my car phone now, and I'm going to have to order food, and I'm driving to take my my written test for a motorcycle at 1:45 p.m. So if it sounds different or if I have to order food, but I will answer the question. Now, the question is interesting because I'm going to give you a perspective that really helped me. As people know, as much as I study women and communication, I also study haters, because I know that they have the potential to destroy civilizations. When you run a country, the people that are trying to revolt against you would be considered haters. And I think it would be great to understand the tactics they use. This question is a tactic, because let's go over this. If I said to somebody, "Do you think Vince Kelvin is crazy? Is he really crazy?" The reality is, I know you're not crazy when I ask that question, because if I did, I wouldn't ask the stupid fucking question. And if I'm saying that, I'm throwing in their mind a doubt. I want them to think that you're crazy. I want them to question your sanity. I obviously have an answer. I either think you're crazy or you're not. So it comes across from a hater in a way. People have said to me before, like, well, they said that that these aren't your women. I said, they don't believe that. They want you to believe that. They want you to believe these aren't my women. That's very simple. So if it comes across from an enemy perspective, it's a tactic, propaganda. If it doesn't, and if it's a genuine question, then here's my genuine answer. Was Da Vinci crazy? Was Socrates crazy? Was Tesla crazy? Was Einstein crazy? Was Newton crazy? About Galileo? Were all these men crazy? Because they weren't. And am I crazy? Is look at the condition of their environment. It's unkempt. They're dirty. They smell bad. They have too many things in their car or in their house. You can't walk through it. They talk non sequitur, which means they can't follow logical progression of a conversation. That's what crazy means. And anytime an artist is labeled as crazy, it's an attack on the artist and his art form. Artists are not crazy. They're the most sane individuals. They're so far ahead of their time that they change the culture. Now, excuse me while I order my food. 1 second.
Yeah, by all means. And I'll continue with, I've been around long enough to witness people making the mistake to not absorb a new way of thinking that is ahead of its time before it becomes the norm. Recently, there was a legalization of gay marriage, and everybody, even some people on Facebook that were straight, put the little colors over their thing. But where were those people when that topic was touchy and most needed? So don't make the mistake to not, as rapidly as possible, integrate newer ways of thinking, or be part of the masses that will wait 5 to 10 more years to make it be the norm. We've seen that with Bad Boy. We've seen that with Hypnotica. Make it the norm today. The answer is it's a form of thinking that is ahead of its time, but much needed in these times. And I say that very genuinely.
Let's ask this question. okay, of the brilliant individuals who ask that question, which is, do you really think all of these beautiful women with so much intelligence and confidence would be around a crazy guy? A. B. Do you think you, Vince Calvin, or Nautica, or Matador, or Mystery, or some of the highest trained people in the world would have so much fucking respect for a crazy individual? C. Do you think a crazy individual is capable of running 3 successful businesses that are all above any other business around them, like number 1 in the world? So it's such an absurd question. And I think that absurd people should be put in their place because we're suffering for their stupidity. You see, just a basic logic would tell you that women would stay away from crazy people, that successful people would stay away from crazy people, that the world wouldn't come to me and pay me if I was fucking crazy, and that I wouldn't be able to run fucking businesses, and parents wouldn't bring their children if I was crazy. Like, none of that makes any fucking sense. The question is absurd and crazy in itself. And if anybody believes that, then they should stay the fuck away from me because they're the crazier person overall. To believe that kind of absurdity makes a person so crazy that they're the same kind of people that would hang people in the past because they were, quote, witches. That's it. Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm on a phone call. Do you want to say hello? Say hello.
Hi, hello.
This is a very beautiful woman on Wiener Schnitzel. Okay? She's saying hi to you. They're doing good. How's your day?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
You're doing good, too.
Why? I'm doing great, actually. Look at me. Look at me.
I'm not.
What do you think?
Oh, my God. You look like my You okay?
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Thank
Good.
you.
Bye.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah,
Vince, I have a question.
it is pretty clear. It is pretty clear. And, you know, I heard something not too long ago. I touch on everything. And it was from people who do angelic work and so on. And they said in the mind of an ascended master and so on, they could not possibly look at any human being with any judgment because they themselves are free of it. So it's always a reflection of the person asking the question. And I think sometimes people are afraid of an idea whose time has come. And that's why they question it. History has proven that time and time again, but we need to expedite the process. And in my own genuine opinion, the most brilliant thinker the community has witnessed and my primary source of motivation and the person I turn to also, honestly, you know, I was talking about humility several times during the times we have known each other. I have personally turned to you with personal matters to get some wisdom. When my mind isn't clear, when I don't know about something, I personally turn to Arash to receive wisdom. And wow, bless anyone who will ever do a one-on-one with him, because within minutes, he will change a person's reality like mine. I mean, I was facing some pretty major crisis early on this year, and I think it took 3-5 sentences, and that's it. I get it said more brilliantly than it could ever have been said. So,
Awesome.
We're going to wrap up.
Okay.
Any last
Yeah,
question
I have a
on your
question
side?
for you. I do have a question for you because when I was first studying this art form, I would have this image of Project Hollywood, like, wow, Project fucking Hollywood. This is the place. I would love to see the place. To me, it would be that and Playboy Mansion would be 2 places I'd want to visit in my life, you know, and not visit as a, you know, I had an opportunity many times to go to Playboy Mansion, but I never wanted to go as a spectator. I always wanted to go as a player in the game. So I still haven't gone, but I know when the day comes, I'll be invited properly. And the same thing was for Project Hollywood. I always wanted to, if I'm going to end up in Project Hollywood, I wanted to be a player in the game and not just somebody from the outside looking. And then I didn't even know, but when I met you, I realized that you actually ended up taking over Project Hollywood. And then a few things started to just ring in my mind of what I had heard through the community and talking to people, that there was just seemed like a lot that happened before you took over, during the time that I had studied it, that after you took over, there just seemed to be so much dynamic energy, good, bad. I mean, I don't fucking know. So I would love to get just a little bit of what the fuck happened, Vince, and what was it like to actually be, in Project Hollywood? Like you ran Project Hollywood. That was your thing for a while.
Yeah, I'll divert for a second. I love the question. I want to acknowledge my beautiful, darling wife who spends a lot of time in the background hearing me talk. And I will bring on my side some long due material on relationships at the convention, the best of the best of how to really make love work when it's organic. But at the same time, she's always kind of making comments in the background, and she's saying, she hears me try to explain it, Sean. She always goes like, tell those guys to just fucking show up. She's a little shy. I don't want her to say it. But she's pushing me away. But it's funny to have the perspective of a woman. She hears it. I'm coaching. And then she's waving at me in the background. Just tell them to fucking do it or stuff like that. But with regards to Project Hollywood, speaking of people saying, oh, wow, it's crazy, the whole community at the time started to think, oh, my God, Vince Kelvin is crazy and so on. And, I, for the longest time, held it within of what really went down over there. And it was like peeling layers of a fruit. And initially, I mean, of course, it would have been an amazing opportunity for a payback through a book for all of those who plotted against my well-being at the time and so on. Then I waited a little bit to release the book, and then there was the element of just, it's funny because mystery had lived in that house. I remember just before moving in, I was in New York, and there's a clip of me in New York where this girl who's a little bit hip-hop doesn't get it, that I say, I don't watch TV. My life is a movie, and yours is just TiVo from a famous song. And she went right by her. But I used to say my life is worse than even crazier than reality TV. But there's an aspect also that was like truly like a mystery novel. What happened? What the heck happened in that house? And so I was tempted to just reveal it all. But then something amazing happened. A deep spiritual message, and I thought that one of the only thing that had bothered me in my days of studying the self-help gurus was that you would only hear the success story, and I wanted the struggle. So speaking about being real, in the upcoming book that will be released on the day of the conference, the true story of what happened at Project Hollywood 2, despite all the threats that I've received to never release that story, came a beautiful spiritual message in which I will start by first acknowledging some of my misunderstanding. It will be very inspiring because men always try to hide their flaws. They don't want others to know and so on. So you know what? They say the truth will set you free. And it will be very humbling, but at the same time, truly inspiring. Other guys who've been isolated somewhere in the world who thought they had those big problems who go, oh my God, I'm not alone. This guy is just coming clean and saying it like it is. There will be the element of that mystery novel because it was a puzzle and it's never been completely solved. There's elements that first cannot be revealed, will be taken to the grave, but others that we just couldn't figure it out. And at one point I had to let go. And then, of course, the highest, greatest level of game, and we're not even going to call it game because that whole event of going to Project Hollywood came in a dream. And for the longest time, I thought, what is it really about? But I think that it was a force at work that was way beyond anything. I was pulled into that situation to really free men from the limiting concept of game and to go beyond it. It's not a game, and how we can go back to the most natural of all things, which is connecting. If only PUAs had the ability to sleep with women, the human race would have gone extinct. But we deviated so much. So in my own deviation, I came to realization, and this book, which will be released that weekend, is a little spiritual jewel, very unexpected, extremely healing, that will impact people at a level that's way, 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 way beyond what's expected. Not only entertaining beyond measure, puzzling beyond measure, revealing beyond measure, And a lot of people labeled me crazy back then, but there was a whole much more at stake that I will be daring and I will be inspired by, fuck it, if it displeases some, and despite the threats, I'm committed to share that gift with the world, and that will be done during the conference. And I think we did it. The convention speaks for itself. You go to globalslr.com, globalslr.com, and all the information is there. You can read about all the speakers. More interviews like this one, video conferencing will come. Actually, maybe we can also quickly mention that on Tuesday, probably too late for most listening to that, but Arash is also doing a series of video conferencing available through the site. So we're going to educate as we approach the event. And one last mention, globalslr.com. You're either in or you're out. We're making history. Will you read about it afterwards and wish you had been part of it? Or will you be part of it as it's happening? And it's happening faster at a larger scale than ever before. That's all on my side. Thank you so much, Arash. I have learned and grown a lot from this call, and I look forward to more. We'll do a part 2 and more with the other speakers. In conclusion, on your side, Arash?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I look forward to the next thing we do. These ever since we decided to do this convention, it's really pushed me to see how far I can take my level of game. And I think that's something very interesting you said. I would love to. I'm going to talk about this probably in the opening speech of the convention. I just made that decision right now because I think there's a few different art forms here at work. And in the last 48 hours, I've come to recognize, maybe less than that, in the last 24 hours, I've come to recognize that what I teach is game, and it's a little different than what other people teach. And there are other aspects to it, but I like teaching what I consider game. And it's very interesting. As you said that, something opened up in my mind, became more clear in that if we... it's not all under one roof called game, because I get really angry when people, are you gaming? I'm like, you don't understand game. And this is a very old term. This is a term that comes from way back from, pimps, basically. They knew game, and they talked game. And, a pimp knew how to talk game. And Arash, motherfucking Dibazar, knows how to talk game. And I teach game. And that's different. Like, when I hear you speak and teach, there's a level to it that is reserved for you that I will not teach guys that, because I know that that's for you to do, if that makes any sense. There's going to be certain guys who need to learn from you and not from me. They can't learn from me. I know this already. But there's going to be a certain level of guys who need to learn from me. And the fact that you and I can teach together and respect each other's social dynamic skills and basically mating skills, which is what it comes down to, and our strategies in mating, I think is very powerful, because the community has not seen that in a very long time. For people to admire each other at the top and be like, no, go to this guy. There's going to be guys that are going to come to me and I'm going to be like, I can't teach you because it's just not going to work for you, dude. What you need to do is you need to go get married. You need to go fucking have a real relationship with a woman somewhere. But I'm not going to teach you game. Now, I can teach you certain things about your internal process for sure, just like Vince or Hypnotic or anybody else can. And that'll just be my angle of it. But this makes it very interesting, because even when I heard Adam Lyon talk the other day, was the first time I heard him talk live, I said, there's a definite valid need for what he's teaching, that guys should listen to him and learn from him, without a doubt. And that's the same when I hear Bad Boy talk. And it's exciting to see that the top guys can come together and give basically their perspective of mating. And I can say clearly it just became so vivid to me when you said that I teach what's called game. There's a certain way to game a woman, and if you see my women, they're running game. They're running game on the world. You know what I mean? They are the ones who are running game on the world, and that's what I'm teaching them. So anyways, that was just cool. That was like a moment of realization for me as you were saying that.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, it's also all semantics, because the use of the word has been so frequent that ultimately I wanted to come full circle so people really understand what it is that you do. So we call it the rebirth. For something to be born again, it needs to fade and be born again. So I'm not anal about the terminology game, but there's an aspect of it that we need to peel off because too many guys look at it through a peephole when you look at it through a pimp who's got a lot of holes. So you are we're absolutely on the same page. And also that's the beauty of the conference. Last revelation, in the early days, we filmed the conference I was putting together and we edited them just phenomenal quality, like we're in Hollywood, so it's easy to bring top editors and so on. And then the tradition kind of went down the drain. So we are going to bring it back up. And remember the second year we did it, the editors were phenomenal, but had no awareness of the speakers. So it took for me to watch the DVDs 17 times. And each time that I watched, I felt that my own awareness of what was possible was being impacted by all the speakers present. And I grew beyond all of that afterwards. And it's going to be the same thing that's going to happen to whomever shows up. Arash, I just want to say in conclusion, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for this refreshing experience of putting this event together because it's so coming together powerfully, pleasantly, so inspiring. It's a premiere in my life to collaborate with someone at that level, and it sets a whole new standard. So bottom of my heart, thank you. And thank you guys for listening. We count on you. You're the next generation, or you coming back, or you were there since the early days. But together we go stronger, and we got to establish a new standard and new paradigm and parameters. So this community is barely in its beginning, and it grows beyond and above. So future generations will have it ingrained in their DNA eventually.
Okay, Vince, it was great talking to you. I've actually arrived now, and I'm about to be late to my interview, to my test. So everybody, I'll see you guys real soon, and hope to see you at the global convention. Thank you for this, Vince.
All right, awesome. You got me hungry to hear more, but I'll let you go for now, and we'll speak very soon again. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
GlobalSLR.com.